Review code provided by Ubisoft. I'm Jared.
And I'm Dallin.
Level with us. Hello, and welcome to the show where we have a cozy video game discussion. And it's been a little while because I had a baby. And the thing is, I can make time to do a recording, so I could record the podcast every week still, but I don't have much time to play video games. So actually, I've barely played any games since our last episode way back in December. But that all changes today. And joining me is, wait, that wasn't Marcus's voice I heard in the intro.
It sure wasn't. You're very, very astute.
That was Dallin.
That's Dallin.
Longtime listeners will know who Dallin is because he was on our Metroid Dread podcast, which was awesome. And fittingly enough, we'll be talking about another Metroidvania today, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. So first of all, thank you for being my replacement co-host. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. I had a blast on the Dread episode, and I was very touched when you asked me to come back to review Prince of Persia.
Yeah, so we both played it on the PS5, and let's just jump right in. Like, overall, if you had to describe it in one word, maybe, what do you say?
Awesome. Really basic word, but it's a really fun time. If you like Metroidvanias, you're going to love this.
I agree with that.
I don't know, how about you?
Oh, I would just say solid. I would just say a solid Metroidvania. I loved it. And I used to not be a huge fan of Metroidvanias.
That's right.
I've kind of started changing my tune lately. And this is one of those games that totally fits the kind of games I'm looking for. The thing I didn't like about Metroidvanias in the past was I'd get lost a lot. I wouldn't really know what to do. I'd spend hours just running around. I'm going to try and... This is the only time I'm going to bring up Hollow Knight this podcast. But Hollow Knight was a little too difficult for me the first time I played it. Now, like I said, things have changed. But this game, I'd say, for me, hits all the things I do love. There's lots of fun exploration. There's a fun combat system. And your progression through the game is based on the movement abilities you unlock. So we're not going to go into any major story spoilers for this game. The only thing I'll say about the story is I think me personally, I prefer the more subtle storytelling, like the environmental storytelling of a Metroid game, since we're talking about Metroidvanias here. But that being said, even though this game can be a little wordy and has a lot of lore logs you can collect throughout the world, I do like that it tries to take Persian mythology and just kind of run with it and make a fun world for a Metroidvania to exist in.
You know, I'm in the same boat. I really like games with more subtle storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I think the story in this is very well told, and it's not bad by any means, but it does seem to get in the way more than I would like, I think,
sure,
at some points. But totally preference. I think they did a great job with what they wanted out of their game.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as the gameplay itself, like I mentioned earlier, we got platforming, we got combat. I thought this game felt really good to play, and that's something that's hard to nail down for a game that's primarily about moving and attacking things. What did you think of the combat of this game? This is kind of a hack and slashy, but also parry based. You have two swords. You can do little combos. It kind of reminded me of Smash Bros. Because you can do up airs and down airs and up tilts and down tilts. What did you think of the combat?
The combat is so much fun. And your comparison to Smash Bros. Is right on. I like to think of this game as a Metroidvania, but you play as Marth from Smash Bros. You've got your parry, you've got the down tilt, the up tilt feel very similar to Marth. Yeah, the combat's great. It rewards kind of a more aerial focus, but with the amulet system, there's a lot of variety, a lot of things to explore with. It's just really solid, really fun. One of the better combat systems in a Metroidvania, in my opinion.
Sure. Oh yeah, 100%. In fact, Metroid is great in and of itself, but that's more about ranged shooting. This one's about getting up close and personal, and I think it's satisfying to hit a bunch of enemies. There was definitely a learning curve but it's rewarding. You mentioned amulets. I'm really curious which ones you equipped for most of your playthrough.
The one that I had on pretty much all the time was the like health restored with a successful parry or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was just a really good one, and I struggled with health and healing, and we can talk more about that in a moment. So mostly user errors on my part, but that helped me get through a lot of tough combat encounters in that game.
That doesn't surprise me because I know you really like your Souls-likes. So I feel like you, of all people, know, like, I miss my parries all the time in this game, but for you, that seems like a crucial amulet because you're really good at learning enemy timing and stuff like that. That's cool.
Well, the ironic thing too is by the time I've learned to fight, that amulet is almost kind of irrelevant. Like, it's very helpful while I'm learning the fight, but
Sure.
By the end, it feels like I'm doing it with very few mistakes.
Sure. For me, like, I feel kind of lame saying it, but I just equipped the ones that were more like quality of life improvements. So the ones where the crystals gravitate to you from further away. There's one that like partially refills your health on a lethal hit, so you get like one free lethal hit if your health drops to 0.
Oh, nice.
And then just like other little things like that, anything to just basically anything defensive that mitigated damage. I was dying a lot early on, so those were the ones I gravitated to. But I will say there was one I got later in the game I really liked. That's kind of like the Legend of Zelda when your health is full and you perform like a slash attack from like a ranged slash attack with your swords.
Oh yeah.
This one's not tied to your health, but I really liked that one as well. That was quite fun. And I have to say this team, I believe it's Ubisoft Montpellier. They made the Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins games, which are both excellent. They really know how to make flashy combat. They really know how to make everything look as cool as possible. I was a big fan of all the really cool 2D painted streak effects whenever you do even just a basic combo. It was really, really impressive.
Speaking of the really flashy combat, for me, I just got so like giddy and started like laughing whenever some of these special attacks would go out because they're so over the top and they're so much fun.
Oh yeah, very
and
anime.
They look incredible. It's great.
Totally.
There's one enemy you encounter a few times who's like full anime swordsman. It's great. I love it.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, I guess we talked combat, we kind of talked story. Another crucial thing about Metroidvanias is the exploration and progression, which again, I guess I'll just give my take on it. I felt genuinely rewarded for exploring. And I have seen criticisms online about how some of the things you get rewarded with in this game for exploring are just currency, which you then upgrade your basic attack with. Like, you can upgrade your equipment and your amulets with. But I think that's a great loop. I think it worked plenty well. I never felt like, oh man, all I got was money for doing that tricky platforming segment. Like, I still felt rewarded the whole way through. And like I said, the movement felt so good, just slashing and dashing and jumping and sprinting. You turn into like a state of flow as you're navigating.
Yep.
And so getting around the world for me was great. It's one of those games where I didn't mind backtracking at all. It was just fun. And you can tell that this is the Rayman Legends team because the platforming was very tricky at times, but very well crafted, very well designed. Dallin, tell me what you thought of the overall exploration.
Exploration is like perfect in this. They did such a good job. The movement feels great, like you said. It doesn't feel like Rayman Legends, but it's got the same level of polish that Rayman Legends has.
Yeah.
And even the animations have some similarities. Like I'm thinking back to like the Rayman Legends animations where it's like a very sorry, I'm not an animator, so I don't know the terms, but if we're talking at like audio terms, like a very fast attack speed and like a slow release time kind of a thing.
Yeah,
and it just feels
right.
really, really good. The puzzles and platforming sections throughout the map are just so well thought out and so much fun. The platforming never gets quite as difficult as something like Celeste, but
no.
Some of the puzzles remind me a lot of it. I mean, the way the currency, there's like this old currency item that you can collect, and when you grab it, you have to return to safe ground, and you don't actually collect the item until, well, you've returned to safe ground. Very similar to the way strawberries work in Celeste. And some of those sections are really tricky, and they even have similar aesthetics to Celeste. You've got some of the crystal passages where you're just trying to dash through a very narrow gap, or like even the electric jellyfish with the lightning in one area. It's like, oh, this feels like Celeste again, you know. And this is a great comparison because that is one of my all-time favorite games. So. Oh
yeah, I had never really intuited that. That clicked for me instantly, but I never drew the comparison to Strawberries and Celeste. That's exactly what that was. Yeah, that's cool. Final little thing, and then we'll move on to our next segment. I really appreciated, there's a mechanic they introduced into this game that I haven't seen done before, and that's this kind of snapshot mechanic where if you face a roadblock or you just see something in the environment you want to remember later, you basically take an in-world screenshot of it. And then when you're opening up your map screen, you can go to that area of the map and it'll pop up with that screenshot you took. And I used this all the time. It felt more rewarding to me than putting a pin on a map because I could like go back and study it and be like, okay, is the item I just got gonna get me through that one? I don't think so. Or, oh, that's how I, get that treasure chest that's out of reach. It's a cool mechanic. I think it's a great contribution to the genre, and I want to see other people take it. So that was just, something I wanted to highlight to anyone who doesn't know much about this game. I think that would be one of the standout things I think that sets it apart a little bit.
And so that wasn't a feature that I used a whole lot, but one thing I did like about it is that because it's a snapshot and you can review it from anywhere on the map, you don't have to go check your marker in person, right? Like you can look at the snapshot and be like, oh yeah, this new ability I got definitely works here, or oh, this new ability I got probably doesn't work here. I don't have to take the 5-10 minutes to actually travel down there because I put a pin there and whatnot. So yeah, it's a really nice quality of life feature, but I didn't love getting additional ones throughout the map instead of other upgrades. But it's not the worst upgrade to get, especially if you like to use them. I think it's probably felt pretty good.
I could go back and forth on that. On the one hand, I was actually starving for markers because I was just constantly running out. I'm like, I guess I'll replace one of my other screenshots with a pin because I really want to take a screenshot of this area. So I was like, oh, thank goodness I got more. But on the other hand, it doesn't feel like amazing to be like, oh, great, more. I can do it more. When I didn't need it, it felt useless. So I get what you're saying, is what I'm saying.
But there's not like a ton of replacements. I want to say there's like 5 chests that you open.
It was only a couple times for sure.
But most of the chests you open, they feel pretty good,
Sure. Well, I don't want to say relieved because I knew you'd like the game, but I feel really validated that you seem to really enjoy this game because I just had a blast the whole way through. Obviously not the longest game in the world, but not the shortest either. Like it's a good, fun, meaty Metroidvania, and we've been gushing about it so much. Now is the time to get into Star Pieces. This is the part where we get to gush about the game, and specifically a cool little detail or something we found that we liked. And I'm going to let you go first this time.
So my star piece for this game has to be just the general feeling and snappiness of the animations and the sound effects, and specifically the marriage between the two. It feels so good. It looks so good, and it sounds so good. And as you're playing, just like even simple things like picking up an item and getting a lore description, which does take control away from the character to show you text, which is something that drives me nuts. But the colors, the animation, the sounds were so good. Every time it happened, I was like, oh yeah, this feels great. So the simple things like picking up items, reading text, to just moving around, all of it sounds and feels so great.
You can tell when a team lays on the polish. I imagine a lot of their early playtesting was just getting the feel down, because I 100% agree. It's a game that feels good to play, and that's one of the highest compliments I think I can give it. You mentioned that the sound effects, for me, like the sound effect that really did it for me, especially because we were playing on, the PS5, and so I could hear it coming out of the controller. There's like these translucent bridges and platforms that you walk on. They're kind of crystalline, and when you walk on it, it kind of sounds just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a shimmery glass effect. And if I can find the clip, I'll play it here.
Yeah.
But it sounds so good. I really, really liked hearing it. Great star piece. Mine is I'll say it's an environmental spoiler. So if you really want to go into this game blind, feel free to skip to the next timestamp. But there is an area in this game that I feel like I have never seen done in a game before that I really liked, and that was the water level. Water levels are notorious in games for usually being pretty aggravating.
The most fun levels, for sure. I unironically love water levels.
It depends on the game, Like, if we're talking
fair.
water levels in, like, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, heck yeah, dude, I love the water levels in that game. But if we're talking, like, water levels in a really tough as nails platformer where you just instant death whenever you land in the water or something like that, that's not usually for me. But for this game, first of all, you find this really cool pirate village, which I think is a fun, biome in and of itself. But then you reach the edge of the ocean, and this is a 2D side-scroller, right? And you see this massive wave that's just frozen in time. And throughout the game, they kind of mess with, timey-wimey stuff where they have, like, statues that are frozen mid-crumble. They have enemies that can go back to the past. Some of your abilities are time-based. But I thought this was the coolest application of that, where it's like, what if you could just run on the water? Because all the water and these shipwrecks are frozen. It's just this frozen diorama you get to navigate. So there's like explosions, there's fire, there's water, and you get to just run around on it and play around. And I thought that was so cool. If you're gonna add a water level to a Metroidvania, I think doing a spin on it like this is awesome. I don't think I've ever seen it done. I don't know about you, but that really impressed me.
Oh, that area was so sweet. In fact, I love pretty much every biome area in this game. They're all pretty fresh takes. Some of them even feel completely original, like this pirate ship one, because the time mechanic just adds so much.
I liked it so much, I was actually disappointed when it unfroze at the end of the area. I was like, oh, what? Oh man, now it's just water. It's just a water level. But and it's not even that interesting to navigate. It's a pretty linear section of the game, but I just visually, I thought that was rad as heck. So awesome. Well, we've talked plenty good about this game. Let's get into the weeds here with quick jabs.
And jab.
This is the part of the show where we talk about something we didn't like so much. This is our excuse to complain, to rant. I'll go first. I don't know if this is yours, but at the start of the game, you have to sign into your Ubisoft account.
Oh.
And I had heard this in advance, and I was okay with it. I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll sign into my Ubisoft account. Whatever. It's a one-time thing, right? And it was. But then throughout the game, you get these really ugly text boxes that are like a fourth of the screen whenever you get like and it's not even an achievement. It's like challenge unlocked. Like you did your daily challenge for shooting 3 enemies with arrows. Good job. And I'd be like, go away. So obviously I went into the settings, tried to figure out how to turn them off. It was like, oh, here's your Ubisoft Connect settings. Oh yeah, if it's account related, you have to go onto your account online. I'm like, okay. So I went in my browser, I went online, I went to Ubisoft Connect, and the options were really limited. I was like, what the heck? And I did some more digging, and they're like, oh no, you have to download the portal on your PC. And I'm like, okay. I dug out my old, I only have a Mac right now, so I dug out my old college laptop that I haven't used since 2017. I downloaded really slowly this Ubisoft Connect PC application, opened it up, found a setting that said no in-game notifications. I was like, thank you. Yes. Guess what? It's only for PC games. So there's no way to turn it off. the PS5, I had to deal with those annoying notifications the whole playthrough, and I hated it. And that's my quick jab.
Goodness. Okay, you should have told me. I found 2 workarounds. Please don't patch this
No.
up with Ubisoft devs. Okay, so first one.
Okay, yeah, tell me.
First one. If your console's online, when you log in, it'll say connect me to Ubisoft Connect or whatever it's called, right?
Right.
So you
unplug your router.
Confirm
or
to
something?
enter.
Uh-huh.
Well, no. So on the page where you log in, it's press triangle to exit. If you just mash that button before it has a chance to finish loading, it'll think it can't connect to the internet, and we'll give you the option to start the game without.
Okay, I wish I had known this.
Yeah.
This is. Do you have to do this every time you open the game, or just the first time you open the game?
Every time you open the game. But if you suspend it, if you put it into your PlayStation into rest mode or whatever, you don't actually close the game. You don't have to do it again.
Okay.
The other option is just go into PlayStation settings, turn off your internet connection, and turn it back on after you get into the main game. But
I figured that
agree,
was
pretty
I figured that
obnoxious.
was probably one of the workarounds was the internet thing. But I for some reason I just didn't bother. Man, yeah.
I had the same reaction you did, by the way. I just to piggyback off of that for a bit. I was like, whatever. I'll make a Ubisoft account. I'll sign in. And with that first achievement or notification, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. So I deleted.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was easier for me to delete my Ubisoft account and find these workarounds than it was for you to actually get into the settings to try to turn them off.
Settings on my computer. Yes. It was such a process. Anyway, it was good to get that off my chest. For my second playthrough, I might reach out to you again and just ask, hey, what was that workaround again? I really don't want to deal with this. I'm fine with getting a PlayStation trophy or whatever occasionally, but I really, really did not like how much of the screen was taken up. And it's this big, ugly gray box. Okay, I've talked enough about this. What's your quick jab, Talon?
So it's kind of funny. My quick jab, my star piece was just how polished and great the game feels. My quick jab is there's a couple things in the game that take away from that polish, and they're kind of baffling that they're there because they seem like simple bugs to fix. Now I program. Sometimes the things that seem simple to fix are the hardest ones to fix. So no hate being said.
Hey,
but
you don't have to This is quick jabs. You don't have to qualify it.
Yeah, I just do. Look, I love this game, and I don't want to say anything bad. Okay, so as I was exploring, right, I went back to the beginning areas, right. So this is one of the things that kind of ruined it for me. Right, go back into one of the beginning areas. I'm exploring around. I enter through a door that you go through at the very beginning, and it starts playing the opening cutscene again.
The same one you got before.
The same one I got
at the beginning
10
of the
hours
game.
ago.
Dude,
yeah.
The same thing happened to me. So it's a known issue because this happened to me too.
It's a known issue. Yeah, it's happened to a lot of people, but it was weird because the game's story deals with time, right? So my initial reaction is oh shoot, I was supposed to come back and re-explore this area, and there's some weird time mechanic going on. And then after a few seconds you realize, oh no, this is a bug. It's just kind of baffling that it's there because the game feels really well polished and play tested really well, and you'd think they would find something oh hey, a cutscene's triggering again. That is so weird little things like that. Some hitboxes that don't quite work the way they look like they work. All really minor things that don't really take getting a cutscene again doesn't really ruin the experience. But if you're invested in the story and you think that this is messing with the time, that's not the best thing to have happen.
Sure. I hope that by the time this episode comes out, that particular thing has been patched. Maybe not, but I can verify Dylan is not making this up, everyone. that was kind of that was weird for sure.
Yeah. So,
but there's nothing else wrong with this game. Otherwise, it's just pretty much perfect.
It's a great game. Yeah.
It's a good time. It's a good time. I'm glad you had a good time. I hope you have an even better time with Who's the Fake Fan.
Fake Fan.
This is the part of the show where I get to embarrass you, Dallin, by stumping you with nerdy trivia questions. You ready?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
I'm just kidding.
I am the
this is all
biggest
good
Prince
fun.
of Persia fan. After this game, this is my first one. So
yeah, me too. So the stakes are actually pretty
nail
low.
all of these. No, my ego's on the line here.
Do you want me to go first? I should
go
asked.
for it. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So in this game, you learn Athra surges. They're basically big, they're like ultimates. They're like a big flashy move if you get your combo meter high enough. I am going to read you the description of one and then tell you a couple names, and you have to identify which name goes with which surge. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay, so there's 3 types of surges. There's level 1, level 2, level 3. We're going to start with the level 1 surges. So, this is the description. Create a swirling wave of Athra that cripples enemies. Very effective when Sargon is surrounded. Ground only. Is this attack... Oh gosh, I didn't think this through. I'm going to have to pronounce these. Apologies to anyone who knows how to read Persian names. Sorry. So is this attack Varathragna's Smite, Shabaz's Spirit, or Wind of Sistan?
I'm going with Wind of Sistan. As you got spin, wind, that's what I'm thinking here.
That is correct. And
That's
I think
cool.
this was one of my favorites in the game. I think I kept this one equipped the whole game. So, well done. All right, on to level 2. In this one, create an explosion and a healing zone that gradually restores health. Ground only. Is it Bauman's Breath, Arash's Ray, or Hadhayan's Might?
Ooh. Well, it's not the Might one. The Might one is like the bonus effect. I'm trying to remember the other level 2. What are the other 2 names again?
Bauman's Breath or Arash's Ray.
I'm gonna go with the breath one.
That is correct.
Oh, let's go.
2 out of 3. You're nailing this. I thought I was clever picking this. I'm like, oh, there's Dylan's gonna struggle with this one. Nope. All right, here's the last one. Level 3. These are the really big ones. So, description first. Ready a stance which allows for a remarkable counterattack when timed just right. Very effective to parry and counter any attack, even unstoppable ones. Ground only. Is it?
Oh wait, I didn't know that. That would have been nice.
Soul of Gilgamesh, Bahamut's Rage, or Rashnu's Judgment?
Oh, it's not the Gilgamesh one. Judgment and what's the other one?
Bahamut. I don't know if it's Bahamut or Moot. Bahamut's Rage or Rashnu's Judgment?
I want to say Rashnu's Judgment is the arrow one, so I'm gonna go with the Rage. It's a big laser.
I'm afraid that's incorrect. It is Rashnu's Judgment, which I tried it once. It was really hard to get the timing right, and that felt like a waste
really
of
hard.
Athra to get it wrong.
Yeah.
If you get it wrong, like all your meter goes away, so I didn't end up really using it. But you still passed. You are still a real fan of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown because he got 2 out of 3. So good job.
So I'm now a bigger Prince of Persia fan than I am of Metroid.
Were you proven a fake fan of Metroid?
I was proven a fake fan of Metroid. I still wear
what
that badge of shame.
question did you in? What question did you in? I don't remember this.
It was about an item or upgrade ability in Zero Mission.
That's
right.
It was something about the
I don't even
spacer
remember.
beam or something.
Yeah. And I don't want to say what I think it was because I'll get it wrong again. Kidding.
Well, just think of this as you redeeming yourself.
Yeah,
you've redeemed yourself for Metroidvanias. Do you have a question for me?
I do. It's about Prince of Persia, kind of in general. I thought we'd get kind of a fun question in here. So in 2010, Disney put out a Prince of Persia film called Prince of Persia and the Sands of Time.
Yes.
Do you happen to know who played the main character? Dastan, I believe is his name.
Gosh. Okay, so I really liked this movie as a kid. I thought it was rad. I've heard it's really bad. I've heard people say it's not good. At the time, when this was like by the same director as like Pirates of the Caribbean, I think, or something. At the time, I thought it was like a rad movie. But the main actor, I wouldn't have known at the time. I think I know now, and I'm just gonna take a stab in the dark. Is it Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes, it is.
Let's go.
Let's go. Now for the bonus question, I had to look up this one. What is the correct pronunciation of Gyllenhaal?
What, is it supposed to be Gyllenhaal? Okay, Gyllenhaal. Final answer.
No, not quite. I'm gonna butcher this. So it's a Swedish name. It's Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
Gyllenhaal. I'm gonna use that
I
now.
think the stress is supposed to be on the A. It's like AAL, but I don't know. Anyways,
Gyllenhaal. Wow.
Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
Okay.
That's very validating to know that you like that film.
Did you like it?
I thought it was awesome. Are you kidding me?
Okay, cool. All right. I'm glad it wasn't just me.
I was that film's target demographic for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm scared to rewatch it. I bet if I rewatch it, maybe I won't like it. But in my rose-tinted memory, I'm sure it's great. Well, that was fun. And I like fake fan questions where I get educated on something. So thank you for teaching me how to say Gyllenhaal.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated. This was a lot of fun. Dallin, thank you so much for being my co-host this week. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Loved playing the game. Loved being here, chatting with you. It was great.
You can find Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown on pretty much all platforms. We played it on PS5, which was great. I did play the Switch demo, and it looks and runs awesome on the Switch. About as great as you could hope for, 60 FPS, 1080p. Honestly, not too much of a downgrade at all. So I highly recommend picking this up wherever you can find it. Again, I don't know when the next episode of Level With Us will be. I can't make any promises, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll be back with more cozy conversations about games and little trivia challenges as well. But until then, I'm Jared.
And I'm Dallin.
And we'll level with you next time. Dallin, any final thoughts on the game before we close it up?
I just want to say, first of all, I love Gareth Coker. Fantastic work on this.
My favorite composer by far. I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah.
I saw another name that made me very happy, and I actually don't know how to pronounce this one. It's a German last name.
Gyllenhaal. It's Gyllenhaal.
No, this is Eric. I want to say like Eric Buchholz or something. I don't speak German, but I have followed him and his peers for a long time. They started off doing Zelda Reorchestrated, and
oh no way!
Yeah, I was so happy to see his name listed next to Gareth Coker's. Because I followed him forever. I know things got a little bit messy with the Twilight Symphony, and he came back years later to do the Hero of Time album, which these are both great. I would recommend them both. And seeing him as an orchestrator on this was like, oh yes, like it made me very happy.
That is so cool to know, because Zrio was my childhood. Like that was what I listened to when I did homework as I want to say like 11 or 12-year-old. Like that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That makes me really happy. Thank you for letting me know. It looks like he's orchestrated a bunch of other games, including Ori.
Oh.
And Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So maybe he's Gareth Coker's go-to orchestrator or something. That's
a great
awesome.
choice. He does a fantastic job, and the stuff I've listened to. So, yeah.